Let's head high up into the Andes of Peru to a place called Lake Chinchaycocha. It's this huge, shimmering jewel. But here's the thing. For almost a century, this absolutely critical ecosystem has been at the very center of a really bitter, defining conflict. So you've got two sides to this story. On one hand, you have the communities whose entire survival depends on this lake. And on the other, you've got these powerful industries harnessing its resources. Really, the story of this lake is the story of this clash, a struggle that's defined life here for generations. All right, so to really get what's at stake here, we first need to understand just how important this lake is. And I'm not just talking about for the people who live on its shores. This is a big deal for the entire nation. And when I say big, I mean staggering. This is the second largest lake in all of Peru. It's the source of the vital Mantaro River. It's literally the heart of the Junín National Reserve, and it's even been recognized internationally since 1997 as a crucial wetland. So you see, this isn't just some random body of water. It's a national and ecological treasure. But, as you might have guessed, this treasure has been deeply, deeply wounded. And this conflict, it's not some recent development. No, this is a saga that stretches back almost 100 years. It all started with one single decision that would change absolutely everything. Okay, check this out. It all kicked off way back in 1929 with the construction of a hydroelectric dam. Now, here's the tragic irony. Decades later, in 1997, the world is celebrating the lake for its international importance, while the damage that started all the way back in the 20s was causing what we now know is irreversible harm, a fact that was later laid bare in a detailed congressional report. And that damage, it has a number. Almost 27,000 hectares. It's hard to even picture that. Think about the size of a major city. Now imagine all of that completely submerged. And this isn't just empty land we're talking about. This was the lifeblood for the local communities. Their natural pasture land just gone. Wiped off the map. And a loss that big, it just ripples outwards, you know? No pasture means no food for their livestock, which leads to economic ruin for these farming families. Their freshwater springs get flooded. Their infrastructure gets damaged. And so, for decades, what have they been doing? Protesting. Trying to make their voices heard against the literally rising water. So you might think, wow, that's a huge problem. But the flooding, that's only half the story. The communities here are fighting a war on two fronts. At the exact same time their land is disappearing under the water itself is being poisoned. It's just unbelievable, really. So look, on one side, you have the dam causing these devastating floods. And on the other side, mining pollution. Toxic waste, what they call mine tailings, is flowing down the San Juan River, right from Pasco, and is just dumping poison directly into the lake. One threat takes their land, the other contaminates what's left. They're getting hit from both sides. And this isn't some abstract scientific problem. The community leaders, they describe it in just harrowing detail. The contaminated water kills everything it touches. Their livestock gets sick with things like septicemia and diarrhea. The entire ecosystem, from the plants to the birds to the animals they rely on to live, it's all being poisoned. Okay, so this all leads to a really critical question, right? We've got decades of evidence. We've got congressional reports. We have firsthand testimony from the people living it. We have a protected wetland that's being actively destroyed. So why hasn't anything changed? Why is this conflict still going on? Well, the answer, it turns out, isn't buried in the mud at the bottom of the lake. It's in something far less tangible. The problem isn't just physical. It's informational. And this is where we find the real bottleneck. A university thesis that dug into this conflict, it pinpointed the fundamental obstacle. The research states that the peasant community members have, and I quote, limitations in access to environmental information. They are, for all intents and purposes, fighting blind. So what does this information blackout actually look like on the ground? Well, first off, the state itself is literally using the wrong maps. They're working with old cartography that doesn't even show the reality of the flooded lands. Step 2. The communities have zero access to scientific data showing how their own ecosystem is changing over time. And third, when it comes to that toxic mining pollution, any plans to clean it up are completely opaque. They have no way of knowing if anything is actually being done to fix it. So when you start to pull all of these threads together, the flooding, the pollution, the decades of protest, this information blackout, you start to see the real shape of this conflict. The battle for Lake Chinchaycocha, it's not just about water levels or toxins. It's about access to the truth. It's a struggle for basic facts, for the data and the evidence they need to hold institutions accountable, and frankly, to save their own home. And that leaves us with one final, crucial question to think about. In a fight for the environment, is access to data just as vital as access to clean water? Because what happens when you're denied the very evidence you need to prove the truth that surrounds you every single day?